When kids don't feel like they can contribute and they can take care of themselves, they don't develop the confidence, self-concept, that agency, sense of agency that they actually need for the rest of their lives. Yep. Okay, Claire, we're back together in the studio to talk about one of my favorite topics, but one that doesn't hit everybody's radar that much.
Yeah.
When we look at the long list of things that parents are worried about preparing their children for or teaching their children, independence and self-help skills don't always make the list, but they are so important.
Yeah. I mean, you know why? Because it's not like reading, math. It's not one of those academic skills,
Right.
But so important and also really helpful to have a child in your house that can do some stuff for themselves.
Yeah. For them and for you as a family member, as an adult. Yeah.
That's right. So we just actually did a really big survey at Bright Horizons of families whose children had just aged out of Bright Horizons centers. And they said, they reported back to us on these surveys that independence and self-help skills were one of the things they valued most that their children got from the centers. And we talked to kindergarten teachers and they said this was something that they look for.
Right. Right. We asked a lot of questions of kindergarten teachers and families. One of the questions we asked was to kindergarten teachers is, what do you think parents don't understand about school readiness that you wish they did? Right. And often there's something about, don't worry so much about the academics. They don't need to be actually developmentally. They don't need to be reading. If they are, great. But they don't need to be reading. We'll take care of that. What we need is for them to be able to separate and know how to take care of themselves, control their bodies, know what to do with their stuff, feel confident that they can take care of themselves. And when I was kind of interrupting you a moment ago, when I was saying it was good for them too, is it feels like you're asking children to do things maybe, and we're going to talk about all the like how to do this really well. But what you're doing by asking them to do things and giving them some independence is you're teaching them that they are contributors, they are valuable, and they are capable. That doesn't mean they're always going to like it.
Right.
But the children need to feel that they're valued community members and part of a family, and that they are very capable to problem solve, to overcome, to do something. I mean, if you have a toddler, they're constantly talking about do it myself. Yeah. It starts there, and we want to reinforce that. We don't want to do so much for them that they feel that they're not capable. So it's both good for them, and it also is a good set of skills for them to be part of a school or community environment or family environment.
I think, and we know what that feels like as adults when you are given a task by someone at work or even in your personal life and you have to kind of work at it and then you finish it. It feels good. Right, and so, but you're kind of robbing your children of that experience, of that sense of satisfaction that you get from doing something that was a little bit tricky. And then I worked at it and I figured it out. And now I've contributed to the household. I've contributed to this project at work.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same feeling for a preschooler or a toddler. So this is something, the idea of self-help skills, independent skills. This is something that's a really big part of the Montessori philosophy. Right. It's been, and it's very, and we love it. We've adapted it at Bright Horizons as well.
One of the things about our methodology is we take the best of the best, and we certainly infuse ideas from the Montessori method. And one of them is this idea of building children's sense of agency, meaning they can have purpose and value, and they can plan things, and they have the skills to be able to do them, and to build this set of skills that is about autonomy and independence. It doesn't mean that we don't also value group time and collaboration and community, but that children should be able to do both. So in the Montessori method, and certainly in our programs, we understand that teaching them how to use a material and care for a material and where to put it back and how to get it for themselves and labeling shelves and having pictures so children know where something belongs and being part of cleaning up. That's all very important. And in fact, that's teaching. That's not just so we can get to the teaching. We don't have children help clean up or have classroom jobs so we can get to the good stuff. That is part of the good stuff. Yeah. So recognizing that and understanding that when children have that confidence, they're more willing to try, which is a very important life skill. Yes. And they're more willing, they understand that they can contribute and they feel valued and important, and that we want them to have that confidence. We don't want that confidence to just come from telling them, good job, you can do it, you're fantastic, you're great. We want them to kind of know what they're made of and test their mettle out a little bit and be able to do that. And they can only do that if they get to try some independence. So I know we're going to talk about practical ideas, but if you just think of a child putting on their coat, this could take a while.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about it as only in service to getting outside where you're going to go play. But if you build in the time to understand that right now is a prime opportunity to learn some self-help skills, and you're going to, I mean, you can't do this every day. I understand that, but make time to say, we're going to spend, if it takes us a half an hour to work on this, and we're going to have fun with it.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to practice too. And I'm not going to put pressure on this, but because this is a skill set that we're learning.
Yeah.
The parent or the family member has to be okay with it not being perfect.
Yeah, that's the tough part. And I know that's also part of the Montessori method. And it's part of what we do with our discovery-driven learning at Bright Horizons, is just making time and space for the messy learning portion of getting something, a skill right eventually, right? It's the same as anything else your child's going to learn. It's not, they're going to, like, think about your child learning to walk and how many wobbly steps it took and falling down and falling down and falling down. That's what learning to put on your own coat is going to be like. That's what tying your shoes for the first time is like. Putting your toys away where they belong. It's going to be really hard at first for them to figure out how to do this correctly.
We are all about the milk spills and all the other things. That's part of the process. So if you go in a Bright Horizons classroom, you will see children as young as 2-year-olds learning how to pour out of small pitchers. You want to think about the things that make it so they are capable of doing it, or at least trying. Maybe a teacher is right there in case they need help, or to support them and to encourage them, but not doing it for them. We would allow children to use different kinds of utensils to share with each other. Or we would say to a child, can you go get this item for me? Or can you put this away for me? And young children can do this, and they will do it. If you come in a Bright Horizons classroom, you're seeing them clean up after themselves, share napkins with each other, put things away. And we build that in as part of the learning process. So it's not, again, rush to get to the next thing, but we're recognizing that as a really important experience for children. And back to what you said earlier is why parents and kindergarten teachers are asking for this. When children go to kindergarten, they have to do things like open milk container or a water or juice container. They are going to have to put their things in a cubby or on hooks by themselves. They are going to have to get their work, put it away, retrieve it later. They're going to have to get their smock, whatever it might be. They're going to have to do all these skills. You don't want kindergarten to be the first time that they're figuring out how to do this. That makes it all that transition harder. Yeah. And then they can't learn the things that they're there at kindergarten to learn because they're struggling with these independent skills.
And not for nothing, but those kindergarten classrooms are going to be much bigger rooms.
Yes.
Like, think about your child's future kindergarten teacher. Help that person out. They've got maybe 25 kindergartners instead of a smaller child care classroom, which might have a lower ratio. Like, nothing brings a kindergarten teacher more joy than to see that there's some children who are just ready to go. They know how to get their lunch out, unzip the thing, get the snack container open, put it back in the thing, put it back in the bag, put it back in the cubby. It's just less stress for the teacher, less stress for your child. Like you said, setting your child up for success. I think we should take a quick break. When we come back, we can talk more about things we can do at home to practice these self-help skills.
Great.
Did you know that you can get the Teach, Play, Love brand of learning for your preschooler every day? The very people you trust for parenting advice are behind our Bright Horizons preschool program. Learning adventures that inspire kids to reach their unique potential. One-of-a-kind preschool for your one-of-a-kind kid. That's Bright Horizons. Enrollment is happening now. Visit brighthorizons.com to find a center near you.
So when we talk about building self-help skills and independence, an analogy I'd like to share that I use a lot is this: when an infant is learning to walk, adults will hold out their hand for the infant.
Yeah, like the thing, like hold on to my fingers and I'll support you.
Right. Yeah. Or even when they're just becoming interested in standing, and I was just doing this with a baby last week and just letting them kind of march their little legs on. I know they could not stand at all on their own, but I'm supporting them so they can practice those skills. So we do that. We hold their hands, we hold them, we do whatever is needed so they can practice those skills. we're not doing any of that because we think we're going to be there forever with this infant. We know we're going to let go. And in fact, our goal is to let go. So it goes from a full handhold or holding them around their body to maybe letting them grasp a finger to just being there nearby in case they toddle over or something or they need us. And that's exactly what we want to do for all independent skills. So you want to think about what we call as scaffolding those skills. Yeah. So they might need your help or different kind of materials to start. Like I use that example of a bigger pitcher or a wider cup or whatever it is for them to be able to do something. But you're going to gradually build up the skills to where you want them to go, but you don't start there or those expectations. You're going to do just similar to the hand holding and helping a baby walk. So think about that as we talk about all of these self-help, independent skill building ideas.
I want to highlight something you said in the first half, which is if there's a skill that your child has expressed interest in learning or a skill that you are like, I'm all done doing this for you. You need to start doing this on your own. Finding the appropriate time of your day and maybe day of the week to do that. So you're rushing out the door to get to childcare. You've got a 9 a.m. meeting. That is not the time to be like, you know what? It's time you learn to put on your own shoes. No, that's bad for everyone involved, right? Find it like a Sunday morning when things are lazy and you've got a couple hours and say, I've got a great idea. Yeah. Today we're going to learn how to put on your coat all by yourself, your winter coat, because you know you're heading off to kindergarten and I want to make sure that you can, you know, get out to recess just as fast as possible. So let's practice working on this. Yeah.
Have so much fun with it. Let them teach you. Let them show you. Make it a game. Make it an activity. You can pretend you're having a shoe sale at home, a shoe store, and everybody has to put on their own shoes.
That's right.
So again, as we've been saying, this is a skill set you want to nurture and encourage intentionally.
Yes.
And it will serve you well and them well in all sorts of different ways. When kids don't feel like they can contribute and they can take care of themselves, they don't develop the confidence, self-concept, that agency, sense of agency that they actually need for the rest of their lives. Yep. So this is not just about,
that's right.
I mean, it will help you out. It will absolutely help you out if your child learns some of these skills, like putting away some of their own stuff, but it's also very much going to help them out.
That's right. So what can we do around the house? Let's talk about some things. If you were setting up your playroom area for your child, how can we promote some of these self-help skills?
So definitely, so you want to start early because you don't want to introduce these things later when they feel like chores and tasks and you really have maybe a power struggle on your hands. Not that you're going to avoid power struggles. That is part
of happen.
Raising children. But I would say some of the things that we do in a group setting in our centers that you could adopt at home is label things, have everything have a place and have pictures and words. So you can
your little icons.
Icons of something. So and on shelves that are accessible, safe, not too tall, or they're anchored to the wall or whatever it is. So you don't make it hard for yourself. So if you have things that are up too high, your child can't do them by themselves. If you have storage that's inaccessible to children, your children can't do that self-help skill. So make it really easy for them.
That's right.
Sometimes on a block shelf, you would see shapes of blocks so children can put things sort of like a puzzle, like you find the shape it fits. So whatever makes sense, but having everything goes in a certain place rather than just a big storage container that you just throw stuff in.
One thing I did in my kitchen was I took the bottom drawer and a row of drawers, and that's where I had a little stack of plastic bowls, plastic plates, and plastic cups. Nothing porcelain, nothing glass. And my kids could go when they were thirsty and get their own cup of water. And they go over to the fridge, or we had a stool by the bathroom sink downstairs, and they could go up the stool and they could. Now, did I find water sloshed all over the floor? Absolutely I did, but that's okay. You can then, okay, what do we do now? That becomes another task, another self-help independence task is, I see. We spilled some water all over the floor. Let's go get it. Where are the towels kept? We time to clean it up, right? You have to clean up after yourself. It's all in service of them.
Yeah, even the cleanup.
That's
a self-help independent skill. So
exactly.
That's actually not a bad thing to have happen, that you need to clean something
not
up.
At all. It's okay. The crackers fall on the floor. Okay, where's the broom and the dustpan?
And make sure that's accessible. Maybe get one of those small ones that their hands can fit and use it. They love to.
It's not a punishment. It's not meant to be a bad thing. It's just all part of being a human. So sometimes you spill things on the floor and clean them up.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll tell you what, we had those cups in that drawer for so long that I had an 11-year-old child come over to my house last week, and he said, he opened up the door. He said, "Where are the cups, Mrs. Goss? Where I used to keep all the cups in this drawer." And I said, "Oh yeah, I finally moved them out." But they were there for so long. All the kids in the neighborhood knew where to go for their own cup of water at my house.
But so the other thing you're doing with that is you're giving them the message is you get to make a decision when you're hungry or thirsty, which is a great thing. Mm-hmm. But think of all the work you reduce for yourself. So I would say as a parent, the things that you feel like you are one step away from losing it a little bit over, those might be the things that you want to teach the independent skills. If I have to do this one more time, if I have to, or those, then could you take a look at the routine you have? Maybe your child is asking you for a snack all the time. Well, can you make some snack accessible? Can you have a lower shelf in the refrigerator? These snacks you can have whenever you want them.
Right.
Or like you were saying, or that drawer, or maybe there's you don't want to put play materials away. You don't want them to always have to be asking you. We don't want to do that in our centers too, because then they don't know how to take care of things. They're going to be messier and it's going to be more difficult if they don't have access to things. So pay attention to those things that are, that would really help you to teach that independence. And then also watch them. What are they interested in? What are they about to be able to do? What are they trying to do for themselves? A lot of little kids will start doing things like they're really interested in brushing their teeth, or they'll want to do it with you. They'll see everyone doing that. So that's great. Let them do it. Of course, you want to come behind them and help them do it so they can do a good thorough job as well. But maybe that's what they're really interested in. So capitalize on that as well.
I'm going to shame myself for a second and say that I think, especially with my first child, I didn't sometimes realize how much more she was capable of. Mm-hmm. I was doing things for her for a long time that she probably could have been doing for herself, because I don't know why. I was swarming around her a little bit. I was, this will be faster if I just take care of it, right? Things like opening up snack containers, things like zipping up her coat. She was capable of zipping up her coat much earlier than I actually let her try, because it was like, we got to get to the playground. We got to get to the store. We got to get to school. And just slowing my own roll sometimes and saying, okay, I think maybe you could be doing some of this stuff yourself. And I've been maybe a little bit too hovering around you, and I needed to just back off a little bit, let her struggle with some things.
Well, and I have two girls in their 20s, and they both have said to me in college about how they were so happy that they had the independent skills that they had. And some of it I didn't do intentionally. Some of it they learned from our just lifestyle and the way that our family functioned. And some of it I did very intentionally, but they recognized the lack of independent skills in some of their peers and how grateful they were to have them, to not feel, to just even to know what things had to happen to take care of yourself and to take care of your space. But so you're playing that long game we talk about a lot too, is you are raising an adult. You're not just getting them ready for kindergarten, but they are going to go off in the world. Yeah. And certainly you love to hear from them on a regular basis, but not because they don't know how to do basic skills. We've all seen the funny videos about kids at the doctor's office calling their mom going, what's my first name? Or what? They just get kind of like stuck. But that's where you have to get to, is when you have teenagers, you want to help them make appointments. You want to do all those kind of other independent skills, but it has to start early. So you're building those skills as they go.
Yeah. So we're trying to put ourselves out of a job. Yep. That day-to-day stuff they need to be learning. And it is, you don't realize what they don't know until you're presented with. My 14-year-old just said, I don't think I've got a social security number. And I said, you do. I know what it is. It's time for me to memorize this with you. But, backing up to early childhood. So maybe do things like have regular, like a chore chart, or like in Montessori, they call them jobs. What's your job? My kids really liked that when they were little, because they saw that Dad and I were going to our jobs every day. And so I'd say, what's your job today? Your job today is to pick up your puzzle when you're done with it. Your job is to sweep up the crumbs after you have a snack. And your job is to put your socks in the hamper. Right? Yep. Little simple things. Toddlers can do these things. They can do these jobs.
Yeah. Toddlers can absolutely put things away. They can, it's not going to be very sophisticated putting things away, but even younger kids, one of the ideas we often give is laundry. So washcloths are a good thing. They're going to get folded kind of crazy. That's okay. It's okay. You can redo it later. Don't do it. Don't redo the chores in front of them.
Right.
Because you are sending the message that they didn't do it good enough or well enough. That's so you want to be careful about that. But having jobs is a great idea. Well, I was in a center recently, and our centers have all sorts of different jobs for kids. And it's so great to see the children part of the community and they love it. They love being the line leader and the door opener and the napkin passer outer.
The napkin passer.
There was one
cute.
that said mathematician, and I still have not figured out. The kids in the classroom was outside, and I still have not figured out what the mathematician's job is.
Oh,
but I mean,
that's something really important. I was in our one classroom at Bright Horizons classroom, and they had the electrician. And I asked the teacher, "What does the electrician do?" And she said, "Oh, that's the person who turns the lights out and back on again when we come back inside." So the electrician.
They probably get to learn about actual real jobs and
amazing.
And, it's also it's cute, but it's also respectful of children's contribution. So. It's fun to see them do it. They're in many ways, especially when they're young, they enjoy it when you give them developmentally appropriate tasks. If you ask for things that are too much or too hard, it will get tricky. You'll get a power struggle. They're also going to push back on you on some of this. Right. They're not going to want to unload the dishwasher or whatever it is every night. They're not going to want to do some of these things. That's part of developing yourself as a human and having a safe place with your family and pushing back on boundaries. That has nothing to do with how important building independence, self-help, and autonomy skills are. So don't let that stop you. That's right. That's a different part of development and parenting, and it's going to happen. But you could not give your children a better gift than supporting their independence, autonomy, agency, and self-help skills from the start.
Get parenting advice from Rachel and Claire. You can leave them a voicemail by calling 617-673-8881. And your question may be answered in a future episode of Teach, Play, Love. You can also send them an email at teach.playlove@brighthorizons.com. For more expert guidance on early childhood development, check out our family resources at brighthorizons.com.
Thanks for listening.